when that team has been doing the work on the front. A la Julien Vermont, he's very much in that kind of role, capable of sitting on the front as he's doing just now, and riding at a strong pace to bring things back. And there is the black, what was it, David? The
Black Sheep Straight.
Black Sheep Straight.
I think it's Rossetto has won his mass in beer.
Well, we need to have that clarified.
That's a result for the Black Sheep Brewery, because he's tiny.
Yeah,
that's true, actually.
Good job it wasn't
It's height and crates of beer.
Oh, look. Just nobody's racing yet. Oh, there's 74 k's to go, and Rossetto's actually been ever so slightly increasing his lead since the last climb. And nobody's racing either in the second group on the road or in the peloton. Everybody's just waiting. And I'm just wondering if you're starting to see a similar situation to stage one. We'll wait. Oh, it's too late.
Well, the very least you can say about Stefan Rossetto, and this is, don't forget, the second time that he's been a solo attacker in 4 days of racing in the Tour de Yorkshire, is that he has certainly given himself a chance. Information on my screen tells the story that he's got 4 minutes and 58 seconds advantage over the chase group, who are only now going through Massam, and he is climbing out of Massam, and he climbs all the way up to an uncategorised lump and then drops down to Pateley Bridge. Pateley Bridge then is is about a kilometre short of the foot of the Côte de Greenhow Hill. That's a few K up the road, though.
I have to say, I've not seen him eating anything. I know our cameras haven't been on him all the time, but one bottle, not seen him at any point glimpsed him drinking or eating, and one of those things you've really got to stay on top of. He looks in great shape at the moment, flowing quite nicely considering he's been out there for around 100 kilometres already, and a very difficult last 50 ahead of him.
Out of Massam, as you can see by this chase group now, it basically goes uphill for the best part of 10 kilometres. And it's not a categorised climb, but it is a proper lump. They'll be familiar with it now. It's pretty much all they've had to contend with ever since the flag dropped in Halifax this morning. Carl Murphy wants a drink, making that point admirably that Chris has just referred to. You've just got to keep on top of it. Bright sunshine here, and they're working hard. You never really cool down, do you? Despite the descents are so short on days like this, and then your body's sort of cooking again on the next climb.
Well, for the Yorkshire weather, low 20s, it's beautiful conditions for riding a bike. There'll still be a fairly cool breeze off the land. Absolutely perfect conditions. Certainly perfect for watching, that's for sure. Can you imagine some of these descents, if it had been wet, it would have been pretty treacherous. Astana having a very difficult day at work today.
With an unofficial teammate in the lime green jersey of Euskadi Murias, riding for Eduardo Prades, who started the day just tucked in behind Greg van Avermaet and Magnus Cort Nielsen in the general classification on 12 seconds. That's why they are sending a rider forward to help Astana, so they've got an unofficial teammate working with them. And he has, it's not just that he's sitting in on the wheels of the Astana riders and representing the team, he's actually working on the front. So they've made their tactics abundantly clear that they don't have the ultimate faith in their rider in the breakaway.
I didn't know there were this many people in Yorkshire. Do they keep them in a box, bring them out each year? Because it's unbelievable amounts.
It's a snowball effect, though, isn't it? It's all, there we go, team cart with a drink and hopefully something to eat. But it's self-generating, isn't it? Because if you're sitting at home and you haven't gone out and you do live in Yorkshire and you're looking at this and the route comes near you next year, you'll get out and have a watch, won't you? So, you know, year on year, it's no longer a secret, is it?
People get the hang of it as well. That, I mean, when it first came, well, when it wasn't the first time, but I recall it in 94, 95, 94. And people were somewhat bemused standing at the side of the road, and I'm not quite sure what they were expecting, but like a football match, they were expecting to be entertained, and the race flashes past and they go, oh, is that it? Yeah. And now they've sort of getting the hang of the fact, actually, this is a family gathering, isn't it? This is a let's get together with friends, and the race is an excuse, and we'll watch it go past, and we'll watch the finish on the telly, but ultimately it's about a social side of sport, getting together. And for a lot of people, they'll come here to ride the sportif. There's still riders coming past us here on the finishing line, had a hard day out in nice weather, perhaps have a drink and watch the end of the race. It's about the whole festival, isn't it?
You entertained me that day, Chris, in '94.
Oh, I thought that story might get another outing.
Oh God!
It's worth reminding everybody. David, let's hear it from your perspective.
I stood at the cycling barrier for 5 hours in Brighton.
How old were you then, David?
I was 17.
Yep.
And first time I've been to the Tour de France. Like many of the fans in Yorkshire, loving it out there all day. And was waiting for, eventually it came by, and these two riders, was it one rider or two riders? I can't remember. Came in for the win, and they did a lap, came around again, and the peloton was about 4 minutes behind. And I remember thinking, oh, that's pretty amazing. And then all of a sudden, but I thought it was all over because those two guys come by, they'd won the stage, and then all of a sudden Chris Boardman came from nowhere. And I thought, wow, Chris Boardman, that's amazing. He's just doing this for us. He's putting on a show because he's like 3 minutes behind the winner. And I only found out last year that Chris thought he was riding for the win. Wasn't doing it for us.
Yeah,
there's no show whatsoever.
These things are best left for a few decades before they emerge.
I wish you put your arms up.
Thanks for that, Dave.
It was Francisco Cabello, the Spaniard, who won that day.
How much did you win by? How much did you beat Chris by?
Oh, quite a chunk.
You don't know, do you? No, and nor did I, obviously. Well, he's exceeding the speed limit now. 20 mile an hour zone this.
I tell you what is good for him here is the fact it's so sheltered. So the way the road's always twisting and turning and up and down, it is protecting him somewhat from that headwind that we saw up on the Dales before.
Yeah, it's this is the territory like this. If you're going to be away, this is the place to do it, because you're not working that much harder than the people that are sitting in the group, because everybody's just concertinaing around the corners, and most of the effort's coming from the gradient rather than the wind.
And you get these little micro rests as well with all the corners and the changing pace, and it's the worst on those big roads where it's as if you're on a treadmill, just slowly.
Totally held his own, hasn't he?
He's pulling away, pulling a few seconds into the second group, and the second group is still 3 minutes and 3.5 minutes essentially ahead of the Blue Jersey group. So the race is completely stabilised, which is perhaps understandable further back down the race, but it's extraordinary for Stefan Rossetto to be able to hold his own at this point. And 70 kilometres to go. If he's still got something, Pim Lichthart has just gone off the front.
Things happened.
Well.
I expected this to happen.
He's properly off the front.
I have to give. I expect there to be a selection on the Park Ash, and that they would just break it up a little bit, because it is an extremely big group. And it hasn't happened, and it looks like they're waiting till the last 50k charge. So they're just playing a bit of brinkmanship, rolling through. But the race has got to start when they reach that last grouping of hills.
Well, Lichthart might be thinking, I mean, the fact that this group has lost a further minute and a half to Rossetto means they really had started to play around a bit, because we know that Astana are just sitting at a fairly relatively pedestrian pace, and so for this group to start losing time must mean that that he felt we have to start moving. And so that's often the way, and it has. It's sort of triggered moves. Tom Bayliss again, is it?
Yes, of course it is. He just shuts things down, isn't it? So it's almost like a gun for hire, isn't it? He just seems to be. You're not entirely sure quite what his motivation is, but he just races, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And he shuts it down and looks across. 22 years of age, and Bayliss. That's what almost on a daily basis we've seen him do that. And Mark Christian moves to the front. So that won't have gone down too well in that group, but Lichthart decided to launch a faux attack. It didn't last very long.
But it will begin to set the tone, because now somebody's done it. It's always the first person to do it then takes that edge out, that kind of... up to that point, everyone's a bit hesitant of making that first move. But now it's done. Now everyone's going to be a little bit more on edge and ready to do it. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see on this next climb an attack, or at least the pace to be lifted, because it's time to start racing now.
And we're looking at the likes of Pim Lichthart, who won't be winning the race overall. We're looking at the riders in that group specifically, I think, who haven't got general classification ambitions. And I suppose Connor Swift would come into that equation. Sylvain Chabanel, although he's kind of in betwixt and between, isn't he? At 1 minute and 30 seconds down, he kind of doesn't want to just concentrate on the stage win, because he potentially could win the race and the stage.
Yeah, he could do. I mean, he's obviously on good form, Chabanel. He's he knows this is one of the rare opportunities this year where he could get a win, and because I think it's unlikely that he'll be able to pull out some of the results he used to be able to at Tour de France or those other big races, the biggest races, whereas this is a wonderful opportunity in what is becoming a reputed and respected race, and with the atmosphere of a Tour de France stage, I mean, it's a fine win for one of the final wins of his career, much like his ex-teammate Thomas Voeckler.
Exactly, and he referenced that, didn't he, yesterday after he'd seen Thomas Voeckler. They're very much of the same generation, started and finished their careers on the same team, and Chavanel would love to, I think, replicate the success of Thomas Voeckler. And I think it would be roundly celebrated by everyone who knows and understands cycling in this country as well. There he is moving on the front now, and he's very committed to that group and a very good ally for the rest of them.
Am I right? Is my maths right that Rosetto's got 7 seconds a kilometre now that he's got to lose if they're going to catch him on a linear fashion? Is that about right?
We're shaking our heads there, not because we think you're wrong, just the power of the algebra and the equation is just way beyond us at the moment. Yeah. So I'll say yes, you're probably right.
No.
You're more right about that than the thing about the Great Wall of China and all the stones.
I'm adamant on that.
It is a phenomenal ride from Cofidis' Stefan Rosetto. He's got 8:42 over the blue jersey of Magnus Cort Nielsen. Ignore that though, or don't ignore it, but it's not the time gap that matters. He's got a 4:57 advantage over the chasers, and that has been absolutely rock steady for the best part of 30 kilometres now. Rosetto has lost no noticeable time at all. In fact, it goes back out now to 4:59. They're making no impact at the moment on the lone attacker. It's an extraordinary ride, but what will he gain at the end? His initial objective is to get to the next categorised climb. If he gets over the top of that, which surely to goodness he will, although it's a long and hard climb, Greenhow Hill, and he takes the maximum points, or indeed scores at all over Greenhow Hill, he will have secured the Mountains jersey, and from then on in, anything else is a bonus. And he will still believe on this kind of form that he can have a tilt at evading the chase and taking a stage win, and to leave them in this group just the small matter of the general classification and the overall win in the Tour de Yorkshire. Could be that instead of having 2 races, we're going to be treated to 3 races on the run into Leeds. Welcome back. Pim Lichthart is at it again. From the chase group, the Dutchman has attacked again, and he has brought with him, once again, Tom Bayliss from One Pro Cycling. Initially, it looked like Bayliss didn't want to work with Pim Lichthart. He was flicking his elbow at the Dutchman, expecting the young Briton to come through. He shook his head repeatedly, and then he did go through. So I think they're just slightly undecided, or at least Bayliss is, in his mind, whether or not to go with this move and contribute and to help Pim Lichthart. But clearly, Pim Lichthart just wants to get away. Doesn't fancy his chances in a bigger group and just wants to make it very, very hard. And that would suit his style as well. And it's just amazing that Bayliss is able to go with him.
Yeah, Bayliss has been showing himself day after day here, and he's in that real attacking state of mind, and it's a great place to be when you're in that, because you've got a real positive attitude towards anything. You're not scared of anybody, and you're not hesitant. You don't really think, you just go. And it's often when you're like that you get your best results. The moment you get a little bit cautious and the tiniest bit of self-doubt, it all starts to fall apart, and Tom Bayliss is definitely not in that state of mind at the moment.
I don't know what kind of state of mind this man is in, but whatever it is, it's working. Stefan Rosetto still defending an advantage of 4:46, so it's shrunk a little bit over the main group of chasers. He's lost about 10 seconds there, and a little bit more than that to those 2 counter-attackers, Lichthart and Bayliss, who are just a few seconds ahead of the... Oh, no, well, they're not anymore. They've been brought back. So that's the second attack from Pim Lichthart, who really won't be the most popular man in this group at the moment. Not twice. You don't do it twice. And I wonder who is going to be the next. Probably Lichthart to attack. Dool moves to the front. Brookwalter. The best of these riders in the general classification. David, I've done a little bit of number crunching while we were away, just imagining that this group stays away and kind of eliminating all the other riders from the equation. I mean, that's a big leap of faith. We're not sure whether that's going to happen. The blue jersey group is only 3.5 minutes further back down the road, but assuming for a second that group stays away, that makes Brookwalter effectively on 0 seconds in the GC. Steph Crass would be then 1 second down. Mark Christian 3 seconds down. Tom Pidcock, the next best, 17 seconds down on Bookwalter. Then comes Owen Dool, 37 seconds to make up on Bookwalter. Sylvain Chavanel, 50 seconds to make up on the American. And Connor Swift, the only other rider really with any kind of realistic GC ambitions. He'd have to go for a long one. He's 1 minute and 8 seconds down on Brent Bookwalter. None of the other riders in that chase group can I don't think, consider themselves GC hopefuls.
Yeah, so it is. A few of these riders, it's a great opportunity and one they shouldn't throw away, because if they're back with a peloton, it's unlikely they could hope of such a high place on GC. So it really is they have to sort of make a decision soon, and when I say soon, likely on this next climb that's rapidly approaching.